What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the Slob channel. It is no secret that SCP related content has definitely taken a little bit of a downturn in terms of the general interest in it. However, I need to be occasionally reminded that the parallel universe of the SCP environment is most certainly a dystopian and scary place to be, to make me really appreciate the fact that the world we live in isn't that scary by comparison. So even if it doesn't do too well, I hope you'll sit back and enjoy the top most scary SCPs of all time with me. Okay, let's give this a go. It's been a little bit sad recently seeing the sort of downtick in SCP-related content. I know people are still making some stuff about it, but hey, I need to be amused, and it's always fun to kind of watch this kind of stuff. So whether this gets good views or not, I'm not particularly fussed, but as a stream thing, we can enjoy watching some shenanigans, I'm sure. So this is The Most Terrifying SCPs by Girisco.
SCP-1128 absolutely terrifies me.
Oh my god.
Imagine if every time you fully submerge yourself in a body of water, no matter how shallow, you'd instantly disappear from the sight of anyone looking at you. Although you seem to have vanished off the face of the earth, in reality you've been transported to an ocean, one that really does
No, dude. Dude, I have thalassophobia at the best of times. I immensely dislike the concept of the open ocean. Like, even if I'm on a giant boat, knowing that, like, and I'm gonna ruin all of your, like, senses of security when it comes to the ocean. You picture what it's like to be on the open ocean, even on a giant, like, cruise ship. The openness of the ocean below you is immense. And it's that notion where we know more about space than we do our ocean. And that is what kind of terrifies me. Just knowing that at any point, sure, most of those things that induce that paranoia are very likely just folklore. But what if there is a giant Kraken-sized duck out there?
Exist on Earth nowhere near your previous location. As scary as that sounds, that's actually not the scary part. While conducting an interview with a test subject transported into this ocean, the conversation is suddenly interrupted by a scream as the test subject sees
so they get teleported?
Horrifying
That's terrifying.
Creature. The creature is so large that it's casually eating a whale.
What?
Unfortunately, due to the way this SCP works, its appearance can't be described very much because that would expose everyone to its effects.
Oh, it's a cognito hazard. So you just, oh god, this is like that Shy Guy, right? You being aware of its existence just influences your mind. It's like, it really plays off that idea that, what is stronger than any disease? What is the thing that will take root more than any virus, disease, infection? An idea. Because the second somebody suggests it, that's planted in your mind, and it's always going to be there. You will remember it. It's like getting those intrusive thoughts, right? You know those moments when you're like 2 o'clock at night and you're really trying to go to bed, and then your brain just starts thinking about that really non-specific thing that you'd had no idea you even remembered, and then you hyperfixate on it for like 3 hours, and then you realize it's 5 o'clock in the goddamn morning, and then you realize you've been transported to a goddamn SCP universe, and you're like, how the hell did I get here? Yeah, it's pretty deep.
Out of the water
like
before
me.
they're attacked by this aquatic being, the cable pulling him out suddenly went taut and then slacked. Afterward, the water in the tub that the subject was originally submerged in became polluted with blood, and no remains were ever found.
No
However,
puddle of water is safe.
It gets even worse. One test subject, labeled D-1732,
I see you need a lifeguard at your beach. Lady, this isn't a beach, this is a bathtub. Man gets dragged into SCP-112A.
The subject became more and more avoidant of the water, eventually claiming that they could see the creature in any amount of water. Some amount of time after the subject was initially exposed to the creature, D-1732...
Okay, degenerate thought, but like, if we're talking about intrusive thoughts, imagine, like, you know, average VTube enjoyer, right? What constitutes a puddle of water? What constitutes a fluid that would be applicable to this? Imagine, if you will, and this is a very intrusive thought, and I know, me, giving intrusive thoughts of all people, imagine, you know, you're of the variety of someone who's wanting to, you know, enjoy themselves. They found some really delightful inky artwork or some Makari fan art, you know, and it's like, oh, baby, that's going to be some good stuff, you know, and you've finished, if you will. Do we think that finish fluid, you know, the white, creamy, finished fluid, if you saw that, would you get tugged into the... Better to come in the sink than sink in the cum, am I right?
2 was suddenly and violently pulled into a glass of water by the creature, and no remains were ever recovered. This fish, or whatever it is, will always get you,
and that's
no matter what.
Oh my god,
While this one's personally
no, that's
terrifying to me,
horrifying.
I have
And that right there is what my brain thinks of when I'm contemplating thalassophobia.
several that are even worse that I'll be covering in this video. By the way, I'll also be covering a bonus SCP in a short that's already out on my TikTok and Instagram.
Oh, that's so horrifying. Dude, it's uncomfy to even think about.
That's assuming you're watching this
And
video.
I suppose there's like some sentiment of like phobias in this. Like a lot of the SCPs play off phobias.
I hope you enjoy this one.
Dude, I'm a scaredy bitch at the best of times. I don't need this doubling down on how much of a pussy I am.
For those who somehow
at the same time, it's fascinating but so unsettling.
For secure, contain, protect, and SCPs are anomalies that exist that are being cataloged by the SCP Foundation. That's the most lore you're getting out of me, because we could spend this entire video on that alone. So
you know, we need to get people's attention onto SCP more, because
this tree.
Oh god.
If you do, then you're definitely familiar
Great
with this
Deku, is that
next
you?
SCP. If not, this image is the old Kraggle tree, a depiction of one of the characters in a park called Kragglewood Park. This amusement park that's supposed.
What do people do? Oh, dude, I now just had a core memory unlock. I was, I think 10, and it was my school's, like, assembly kind of thing, and they brought in what they said was a kids' entertainment troupe. And it was like one of these pantomime kind of things. And a bunch of actors came out and they were all dressed up in really fancy outfits. But there was one person who brought out a sort of like puppet tree like this. And it was the most dystopian, jarring looking thing I have ever seen in my life. It was literally this. And everyone was enjoying themselves up until this goddamn abomination of a tree came out, and the entirety of the front row of kids started losing their goddamn minds from how creepy it was. I am now believing that was not just an entertainment troupe, but it was in fact an SCP, because that thing was horrifying. Same reason I get scared of goddamn mannequins. I mean, look at that!
Dr. Reiner was able to interview a few
people. Look at that! It's more scary than a VTuber with dignity.
Quite unnerving. In the first interview, the subject claims that this is just some nightmare they used to have.
Also, who the hell's calling that park Kragglewood?
They got traumatized from. They then get into the description.
Kragglewood.
I enter this
What a
theme
wild
park.
ass
It's
name.
like Disneyland, but smaller. There's no rides, just this long, winding road through the woods. Everything's bright and colorful, like a cartoon. And there's all these trees around.
Pyro, is that you?
After being asked about the trees, they say, they've all got faces, and they're singing. They've got these dopey, cheerful looks, like in one of those.
It was at this point that you realized that tab of LSD you just did probably wasn't the best of ideas. Dude, the trees are talking to me. Oh, wow, that one's trying to get my wallet. Oh, God.
Those old-time cartoons, right? And they just sing and laugh and sing. Obviously, these trees are the
Isn't
same
it funny
as the
how
one that was
the
depicted in the drawing.
beauty of hindsight makes you realize that most kids shows are nightmare-inducing?
It's like organ music, but not the kind you hear in a church.
No wonder Teletubbies have so much horror made about them.
A merry-go-round. Apparently in the dream they aren't alone either, as other kids are there as well. All of the kids are smiling and laughing, but not because they're happy. Because they're afraid of what will happen if they don't act happy.
That's a shining moment. Come play with us. Come play with us.
They then conclude with this statement. Just as I'm getting ready to leave, I see something. A tiny tree sprouting up near my foot. It looks up at me. It's smiling with that.
So there I was in the park. Oh yeah, and how? So hey Jimmy, how was your time with all the other kids at the park? Oh no, it was great, Mum. I was playing with them. We were all playing together. We were playing kickball, and then a tree spawned at my feet, looked up at me, and the boss music started.
That big, dopey, happy grin. When I see it, that's when I
yeah,
start
no, dude.
screaming.
Think about all of the kids shows you've ever seen, and realize now in your
the subject says,
adult vision how terrifying they were. Teletubbies, tweenies.
Far-fetched to say that these trees may be created from the souls of previous children that were lost in this non-existent park. And maybe some that made the
get
wrong
off my
decisions
leg,
in
you
their
stanky ass
dreams.
thing!
But let's continue to the second interview. In interview 2, Dr. Reiner speaks to Janine Yearling about her experience, mainly with the carousel. When speaking about this, she says that before the other kids got on,
so weird looking.
kids that didn't get on. Some smiled and some cried, and she left them as they rode the carousel. When looking at the interview transcript, you can see by her reactions and the way that she's speaking about this park that it doesn't just seem like a bad dream. It seems like it really existed.
Oh, and
Dr.
you know
Reiner
as well
even
that when
says
you're
this
in
woman
there,
went through a
you just can't get
deeply
out.
traumatizing experience. While this interview is definitely eye-opening, the next interview where Dr. Reiner...
See, I think like this is the thing about SCP that's kind of fascinating as well. They all seem to fall into two different categories. You either have the one that is like in your face and very physical, like a very obvious threat environment kind of thing, where it's like very metaphysical. It's like, oh my god, this is a thing. It's been warped. It's given us that uncanny valley. It's given us unsettlingness. And then you get these kind, which are more of a suggestion, more of a folklore embellishment, sort of like taking a concept, taking something that is relative to something we know, but then warping it to this like unfathomable level of weirdness, but something that's also psychological, where you think, is this really happening, or is it happening in their mind kind of thing?
Interviews Randolph.
I suppose
Blair
that's the
is
difference between
one that
cognito and
truly
and a
changes
physical
everything.
thing.
Reiner asks Randolph about a video cassette, to which Randolph has a viscerally angry reaction. Reiner gets him to
I suppose
focus
all
and
of
asks
it
him
just
where
plays
exactly
off
he
the
got
power of
tape from, to which
susceptibility,
he
like the
responds
power
that
of the
he just
mind,
found
and
it in the attic.
how much you can be gaslit into believing something. Like eventually, if you start believing something so much, it might come into being. Like eventually, I'll make you all believe that I'll be worth tier 3 subbing to. Ha ha ha! Right, guys?
Dr. Reiner then asks him if they recognize any of the images on
What
the
I'm
tape,
saying is,
and he says that he
VTubers
does
are basically
for nightmares
SCPs.
and stuff like that.
Content
That maybe
creators are
someone showed him
basically
the
just
tape as a
cognito
kid.
hazards.
Dr. Reiner continues
But
by
instead of
asking
trying to
if he's
milk
been
your
raised
soul,
in
we're
the
trying to
house by
milk
his
your wallet.
parents, which he confirms. As Dr. Reiner brings up the front bedroom, he immediately says he doesn't want to talk about this. Dr. Reiner tries to dig further, and Randolph says, I don't know, I just don't know. It's always had stuff in it, but nobody uses it. That's why I keep it locked, okay? I don't think about it. If it was such an inconspicuous room, he
Why would you
obviously wouldn't even
think?
think
Thinking
about
is
it enough
weird.
to purposely keep it locked. So, what's the
This is
real
why I know
reason
I'd
here?
be safe, because I don't
Dr.
think.
Reiner attempts to ask Randolph one last question.
Huh?
He's always been an only child. To this, Randolph refuses to respond. Obviously, the
Dude, that is such a goddamn stereotypical horror trope. I don't remember which movie it was. It was one that came out recently where, like... Oh, no, it was like, Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense. Where you realize at the end that Bruce Willis was the ghost the entire time, and it's that realization of, like, so child, how, like, the kid's like, wait, did you know that we have a Discord and a Twitch? No? Well, now you do. So what are you waiting for? Why don't you click those little links over there and be part of the fun? Just like the rest of us cool kids, you know what I'm saying? Talking about their sister, and it's like, oh yeah, no, the sister was imaginary. Yeah, it's so goofy.
contents of this tape had
Hey,
to
Trevor.
be investigated if they wanted any answers. The tape begins with heavy breathing followed by shaky footage of a gravel path in a forest. In the distance, calliope music can be heard, and as the camera pans around, we can also see other kids walking down the path, with some holding hands. A conversation begins behind the camera.
And I think that's like the part of any good, really
It's
good
okay,
horror
it's
story.
okay. Don't cry. You have
Like a
to
sudden
smile.
surprise
You have
reveal.
to. Distant singing is heard. Smile. Smile, please. Just smile. We'll be okay, I promise. I'll take care of... This is interrupted by static followed by
Oh.
blurred images as the music and singing distorts.
Hey, get out of my park! You ain't smiling? See, this is what they want us to believe. Like, the government wants you to believe that Disney is a happy-go-lucky place, but this is Disney, really. If they catch you not smiling, well, they can't suck the soul from your body, so you better be smiling, otherwise you're gonna get Captain Disney forever.
A dozen children are seen around that infamous carousel. What's happening? Shh, just... Oh, God. What are they? Listen, you have to... I'm sorry.
Smile!
You have to go. You have to. No, you aren't. Go, please. I'm sorry. I'll be okay. Just... Besides the obvious that this amusement park is real, we also know that this
Oh,
video
look.
was more than likely recorded
Now, you might be thinking that this is an SCP right here. You might be believing this is a reality-bent, warped environment. Nope, this is just Russia.
by Randolph, which makes his viscerally angry reactions to these questions make sense. The camera then shows someone racing down a forest path before the camera eventually centers on a face that looks...
You want to know why I know that all these SCP things are based in an alternate reality? Because if this was based in our reality, all of these SCP environments would be flooded with adolescent TikTokers going, yeah, mate, we fucking out here in this in this SCP doing the floss. 3 a.m. SCP chant's gone wrong. Like my video. Fucking TikTok, baby.
Looks up and smiles. Based on what we know, this is probably the face of Randolph, who's, again, presumably recording. We then hear the other voice singing, meaning he's been turned into another tree.
Oh no!
I don't think it's a stretch to say Randolph and his brothers somehow ended up at this park, though the way you enter is still unknown. For some reason, his brother already
this
knew
is
the
how
rules
you
of
get
this
wood.
place,
Chat,
and
take
seems to
notes,
have
take notes.
sacrificed himself either by staying behind or more specifically getting on the merry-go-round, allowing
Gonna be
Randolph
honest,
to
looks more like
escape,
broccoli, but okay.
likely barely. A mysterious amusement park whose only purpose seems to be to turn these children into these mindless trees for
Aphrodisiac, no
seemingly
problem.
no
Getting wood,
reason.
100%.
One that is so mysterious and rare, we don't even know how these kids ended up there and how many have been sacrificed.
They're
to this
just
park.
another
To me,
statistic.
that is especially terrifying.
Very unsettling.
SCP-1562.
The slide. This bad boy is in every park in America, and this thing has claimed more ass skin than any other skin-taking thing in the world. This thing has a kill count higher than most murderers, I tell ya.
It was an anomaly that particularly unnerved me the first time I read
My
about
ass
it.
cheeks
This
still
anomaly is
have
a
the
metal playground
memory,
slide that was found
the
in an
pain
abandoned
and
playground in
burn
an
that
unknown
induced upon
location.
me.
Generally, it's harmless unless for some reason you choose to slide down headfirst on your stomach with both arms tucked down at your sides. If you do that, you'll incur a fate that I consider worse than death. Around 15 centimeters or 5.9 inches away from the end of the slide, you'll suddenly disappear, never to be seen again. Test subject D2445 was given a radio earpiece that allowed them to communicate with.
That's what they're trying to make us think. They're just saying that because Jimmy Savile was seen in the area.
Dr. Darrett's upon teleporting out of sight. As we read the logs of their conversation, we see D2445 saying that they'd been transported into a small tunnel that was really cramped. There was no source of light, and they couldn't move at all. They're surrounded by rock and dirt on all sides. They begin to freak out more and more,
SCPs that
especially
teleport
after
you
being
places
informed
that are
that their
scariest.
safety line got severed when they got teleported away.
In fact, all of
which,
these have been ones that
frankly,
teleport
I
you
can't blame
places.
them. They eventually start inching forward before they're stopped by a pair of shoes. Small shoes. Communication was paused as the researchers discussed how they were going to get D2445 out of there. Eventually, they contacted D2445 again to inform him of their plan to send another test subject outfitted with more gear after him to get him out of there. The conversation, though, was odd. Are you still there, D2445?
See, this is where it sort of bridges over into elements
I don't
like
want to be in here
the
anymore.
back rooms.
We're going to send someone in to pull you out. It started talking.
Slide?
What started talking? The little boy did, but he didn't make any sense. Tell me what he said. He just kept asking where he was, and I told him I didn't know.
He asked if there was any skibbity toilet, and if he knew if you wanted the latest season of the Battle Pass for Fortnite.
But I don't think he was really talking to me because he didn't respond to my voice, and he told me to stop crying when I was actually sort of calm. What else?
Stop crying, you oversized baby!
I don't think so. He started screaming,
Yeah,
and
what
I
a
told
pussy.
him to shut up, but he just
Only
kept
got teleported
screaming
in
and crying
alternate
and asking for
reality.
his mommy.
What a baby.
And he finally stopped, and shortly after that, you contacted me again. Please get me out now. Okay, we're sending someone in. Don't panic if you hear or feel something behind you. Please hurry. My chest is... I think it's pretty easy to see why this park was abandoned. Maybe the kid just couldn't hear him, though,
just
right?
a smidge.
Maybe he was just too freaked out. I'm sure this tunnel doesn't have some kind
You
of
definitely didn't get eaten by the
property
slide
that affects your mind or
mouth
anything. Anyway,
thing.
after this conversation cut, D8600 was shortly sent after D2445 with a GPS tracker, headlamp, and video and audio recording equipment, all while attached to a tether. During the conversation between D8600 and Dr. Darrett's, D8600 describes the place in the same way that D2445 did. However, he also adds that his headlamp immediately stopped working as soon as he ended up in there. Eventually, he manages to come into contact with D2445, but...
Alright. This kind of gets a little bit funny when you think about it. Like, imagine being any of the other D-class personnel. Like, oh, how did you go out? Yeah, no, I was sent in to do a test against this giant monster. It's really cool and epic. How did you die? Slide ate me.
Something is clearly off. I'm still head first on my stomach and my body's at an angle, but I'm in some sort of small tunnel and I'm stuck. I'm completely surrounded by rock and dirt on all sides.
Oh God,
I don't have enough room
no!
to raise my head or move my
Oh
arms.
God, that's just
I
another
can't-
phobia. Oh God, I've been watching. I ended up watching a video recently about like the most like horrific like cave accidents. Just the idea of being stuck in a cave, having gone like caving and just not being able to move and just having to wait. Oh God, claustrophobia.
Move forward. I really need to get out of here now. Okay, man, it's okay. I'm gonna try to get my arms up and I'll grab a hold of your ankles. They should be able to pull
Yeah,
us out of here
who in
then.
their right mind is going into caves?
No, I told you, I can't
Don't do
see
it.
anything. I'm getting kind of freaked out now. I'm not really claustrophobic, but this is pretty uncomfortable. Pull me out of here. I'm working on it. Have some... D8600, stop talking. Something isn't right here. D2445 is just repeating everything he said to me when we initially made radio contact with him. Alright, well, maybe, just maybe, this tunnel does have some strange effect on the mind. D2445 continues to repeat his end of the conversation as D8600 asks Dr. Doritz to pull them out. And look, I'm sorry, okay, I don't know if I should say Doritz or Daritz. And I just
Wait,
realized
that would
I've been
mean that the
repeating
kid
it.
that the other
It's
guy
okay,
saw
dude,
was
you've already
the
noticed
person
it.
who was in there
Anyway,
before
let's
them.
continue. Dr.
Oh, that's so dark. No, think about it. Remember the kid? Remember what the guy was saying about the kid in front of him not talking to him specifically, but sounded like it was. Oh, that's grim. Oh, wow. Okay.
It says
See, that is great storytelling because you piece it together yourself.
Can't, is the
Oh,
rope severed,
God.
and he didn't know that that would happen. A cold lie. D8600 chooses to make his way backwards as the conversation continues.
Which means that the kid talking, what the guy heard the kid say was what the kid was saying to the person who came in before the kid. So the kid had found somebody who was crying. Oh, God. Okay. So there were just a bunch of kids that went down that slide and okay, cool. Yeah.
Are you making progress, D8600? A little. It's not easy, but I'm getting there. The air's kind of stale in here. I hope there's enough air for me to make it back. Hey, did he finally shut up? I'm not hearing him on my end anymore either. Well, thank God for that. I was starting to think that... What is it? You were starting to think that... D8600? Are you still there? What happened? Neither D8600 nor D2445 would be able to be contacted ever again, and further testing was indefinitely suspended. I kind of wonder if the tunnel is really made out of rock or some type of unknown mineral that severely affects the brains of those unfortunate enough to come in
It
contact with
seems more like a
Presumably,
digestive
if the
tract.
person at the
I'm
top
just
is actually
saying.
close to
A
the
very
surface, this effect would probably cause them to be unable to dig their way out in time.
Oh my God! Someone help me! I'm having a stroke.
Maybe this is some sort of punishment derived by one truly evil individual
Do you
to
smell
curse those
burnt toast?
unlucky enough to ever attempt to slide one very specific way.
Ah, that's actually unsettling.
The afterlife is
God.
one of those existential concepts that
Caves
humans
in
have been
themselves are
theorizing over
horrifying.
for
Anomalous
thousands of
caves?
years.
No, thank
Out of
you.
the many beliefs that exist, though,
I don't remember what the movie was called, but there was a like a found footage movie where these guys are like investigating a church and they find a bunch of cave systems under the church, and at the end they climb into this hole and it's actually like a monster's like throat or something, and they get digested inside the hole. I don't remember what that movie was called, but that's the same vibe that gave me.
heaven or its equivalent counterparts have always been seen as good, understandably so. But what if an afterlife you thought to be heaven was
Flesh the
actually
Hates?
the exact opposite?
No, it's a movie.
SCP-7179 is a part of SCP's alphabet anthology, which on its own hosts a number of terrifying anomalies. This one specifically is called E is for Eternity. This place that can only be accessed upon one's passing appears as a solitary island surrounded by nothing but ocean in the distance. The temperature is always the most
Again, a very
comfortable for whoever's
backroomsy
soul
type
happens to
one.
be there, and it's always daytime. There are many tropical fruits, with some possessing the same
This
effects
doesn't
as
seem so
certain
bad.
chemical
hippie
substances.
holiday.
Animals also exist here, and there's a house on the island where up to 3 people
Animals exist. Don't you mean dinner exists?
that the person will be attracted to will stay. These people have seemingly no personality or free will, though. Because this
No personality or free will? Dude, there are so many jokes I could make about corporate workers, Twitch admins, and everything else. But the joke kind of writes itself, so haha, funny, no emotion, no personality, no free will, yada yada yada, 9 to 5 work, Joe Collar kind of thing,
is
haha.
an afterlife, People aren't able to die no matter what injuries they incur, although they will suffer the pain of said injuries and recovery. We're then able to follow a man's consciousness as he travels into this place. In the beginning, he has a lot of fun, but
Damn,
as
so
we
you
hit the year 2
can't
and 3
die?
mark, we can already see a drop in his mental health. On year 3 specifically, he begins neglecting food, and no matter how much he attempts to speak to the women in the beach house, they have no individuality, just dolls. 2 years later, he just wanders the island, and 1 year after that, he desperately attempts to escape the island, only to immediately teleport to the opposite side of the island anytime he gets to the edge. By year 7, it seems like he's finally finding solace in cooking and creating a farm. As year 18 arrives, he's a cooking
18?
expert and seems to be looking into botany. Things are going well. Year 37 announces the arrival of boredom. Things aren't working. His mental state has fallen by year 81, but he eventually looks into construction. 20 years later, he builds his first house. At year 287, several...
This is actual hell. Actual hell. That's the eternity. An eternity on one island?
Several structures have been built on the island. Year 416 sees him making every prior building into livable housing and beginning to expand these structures. By year 850, he slows down as he's more or less reached his peak with building and begins to tear down and rebuild these structures over and over. Year 2009, his mental state has declined more and more and he begins to become existential.
Dude, my mental state is at rock bottom after an 8-hour stream. How do you go for 2009 years and only then start getting to the detrimental state of like, it's the same concept of like immortality, right? If you wanted to be immortal, there would come a point where everything would be boring. Everything would be like bland and you'd lose your goddamn mind. You'd see all those around you sort of come and go and oh, that's ugh.
He realizes that this is it. This is all he'll know forever. He continues to go down hills. By year 5478, he tears down random buildings until they're all gone and begins rebuilding them. Eventually, he takes out his rage on the women that exist in the beach house in year 11902, virtually tearing them apart. He clearly doesn't take any enjoyment from this, and again attempts to escape the island via a different method, though this again doesn't work. He's become numb to these horrific acts and begins to experiment on the women. As the next 15,980,400 years pass, he again and again tries different ways of destruction. Of course, due to his immortality.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the horror of immortality.
None work. By year 1.2 billion, he's trying his hardest to find anything to stimulate his mind. It's a wonder he still has one at this point. 8.5 billion. He fails yet another escape attempt. 30 billion. He simply stares at the perpetually shining sun. Just another thing that ceases to change. No sunset, no night, no rain, no clouds.
That escalated quickly!
Just sun. 1 trillion years. He seems to have given up all activity. Around 50 octillion years have passed, I think. At this point, theoretical concepts are being realized. 1 Google has passed. That number is a 1 followed by 100 zeros. This is only 1 second of his eternity.
Oh, dude, that goes so deep. That makes me, even me, feel uncomfy. Because that's like the most existential feeling imaginable, right? Like, everyone's so paranoid about the in-the-moment thing, and that makes you, like, think, like... That starts getting your brain thinking about, like, existence and the permutations of how you perceive reality and how cognition and everything works, where eventually you are so... Oh, wow, that's...
Fairy tales and old poems always seem to have this unsettling air around them, at least for the most part. A lot of these children's tales are about really scary creatures.
Dude, that's gonna make... I'm gonna be having some really weird dreams tonight.
That may be one reason why I really like them, and one day I may make a video on something like that, but we'll see. This image is an alleged engraving from 1863 of a supposed creature
it's
that
beautiful.
was
Now,
referred to
guys,
in old German nursery
be normal
rhymes,
about that monster.
Which, yes, the creator confirmed they did make the rhyme up completely, and it's not based on anything.
Whoever made the Grim Tales did not anticipate the future of monster enjoyers.
Tail and long, thin extremities. This creature will constantly rotate its cervical vertebrae.
Although that's really kind of cool, right? Like how much of these like SCPs are based off old Grim fairy tales.
Ready to attack. When it does, it will bash and rip its
and then you kind of question, right? How many of these grim fairy tales were inspired by experiences that may have been like disjointed or like maybe perceived to be a nightmare or hallucination and manifested into a book form, and then we've tried like it's that meta level, right, where these were experiences of people in the time, because these grim fairy tales, these were like the original SCPs. It's just they were translated from nightmares, hallucinations into a book, and now in the modern year we're taking it the next step further by taking those experiences and books and manifesting them into like a universe collectively together.
Appendages until it eats the victim over a period of time. It, of course, does get even more terrifying though. A Freiburg citizen told local law enforcement that he had been hearing a strange rhythmic clicking noise for over 4 months and claimed that he was being actively stalked. SCP operatives would take the man into their custody and lie to the local police force, saying that the man was simply experiencing paranoia and auditory hallucinations due to side effects of his chemotherapy. They would ask the man to show them where he last saw the creature, and afterward they would be shown walking through a wooded area.
See what I mean? Like, how many of the SCPs were based off of things that people experienced back in like the early 1800s, 1900s?
Footage inside its cell, it was shown that SCP-4975.
Some guy back in the early 1900s, like, dude, we should do some opium, man. Yeah, let's do some totally legal opium. That's a great idea. Man, this opium ain't shit. I'm only seeing 3 eldritch monsters behind you. You're seeing eldritch monsters? I'm seeing Barney the dinosaur. Dude, who's Barney the dinosaur, bro?
It stopped moving its vertebrae completely and was staring in the exact direction of this man at that moment. Right after this, the man is suddenly thrown to the ground and begins being struck in the head and torso multiple times by a seemingly invisible attacker. Operatives attempt to neutralize the source of the attack, but can't seem to do anything.
This is like an invisible
Eventually,
creature,
an
right?
would finish the man off, and right afterwards, strips of the man's flesh would be taken from his body. Directly after this moment, SCP-4975 would appear to be eating, despite not being fed. The fact that only the victim can hear the clicking of the creature as it follows them, and that the creature can follow them.
Oh god, and that's like even more unsettling when it's an SCP that is only cognitively in your cognition. The idea that like you're hearing that noise and you know something's coming. What would be worse, guys? Answer me this. What would be worse? The ignorance of not knowing what was coming, or knowing what was coming and not being able to do anything about it? Because like being aware of what this creature is now, it's very similar to you remember Grudge? You know the noise that she makes, like the dude. Even to this day, that noise makes my skin crawl. And when I first watched The Grudge, all the way back then, I actively would recoil at the sound of that. Anytime somebody would make that kind of noise, it would send me up into like hysterics. Like, of course, it's fake. It's never gonna happen. But even if there was a 0.00001% chance that something like that could manifest into reality, I ain't taking that chance. My fight or flight senses are gonna teach me right. I am not gonna get grudged.
Attack them,
but then dealing with this kind of stuff that no one else can see,
insanity.
So crazy.
How can you even contain something like that?
I'm pretty sure this creature is supposed to be like an invisible thing that
goes like this. I'll be showing the German version on the screen. Tick tock, the cuckoo clock ticks. Cuckoo, the bird inside sings. Tick.
So my understanding is that this creature is an actual thing.
As ticks the time, so ticks your heart. May you live as
long.
But
it designates a target and then wears them down with this cognito effect.
Tick tock, tick tock. Listen close, for when it stops, the hatchling comes out of its home. Tick tock.
I'm like, if I remember correctly, there was a lot of allegory for Grim Tales being a representation of mental illness, and like the earliest representation of like dementia and things like Alzheimer's, and how they claim the person's mind and body, and how people just are but witnesses and an audience to the decay and effect of how this works. And I feel like this is very much one of those where you see this person who gets affected, the mental degradation, then the physical and everything else. It's such a subtle little subtext to it, but really fascinating.
Tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick. Did you hear it?
But even in the literal sense of this monster,
my child,
holy!
It meant your time was up.
It's fine. Just get a furry in there. The monster wouldn't want to go anywhere near you. Like, dress up in a fursuit, the monster sees you like that, and it's like, okay, no, we ain't fucking with this. No, we ain't dealing with that. No, sorry. Nope, not for me. Nope. I was all ready to devour and eat and cause psychosis, but this person's a furry. They're gonna try and me. They're gonna try and do good. Nope, not dealing with it.
SCP-6618
See, that's the solution to any cognito hazard. Just be a furry.
Ways on how to
You've already dealt with enough cognito issues as it is.
On this DVD,
become the cognito hazard.
James Vane being disciplined by
Anti-cognito, if you will.
Papa, though it's unknown if this being is human
Can't be inflicted by cognito hazards if you yourself are a cognito hazard.
In July of 2004, following an investigation by a federal agent who was looking into a chain of disappearances. I'll now get into the actual content on this strange DVD. I do want to clarify, it will get pretty insane. As if this
God, here we go again.
Insane,
Brace yourselves!
As the video begins, we see this title card as light jazz music plays in the background. Vane is then shown standing in a corner, unable to move.
Blair
The
Witch
source
Project?
of light illuminating him was a spotlight shown in his direction. The room also appears old and neglected.
You've been a bad
Above
boy.
Vane's head,
Get in the
words,
corner.
The classic way appear before it switches to the words,
Yummy
"Time
corner.
out."
Tastes
Vane
delicious.
begins to call
Yummy
out,
corner.
all of which to no response.
Crumb of corner.
Eventually, he attempts to move away from the corner, yet all he can do is slightly shake his head no matter how much effort he exerts. Eventually, he screams for help again multiple times to, again,
This screams of sleep paralysis. Okay, real question. How many of you have ever had sleep paralysis? I do not think, at least in my mind, that there is a more debilitating and fear-inducing experience than being awake but not capable of moving. I have a mouth, yet I cannot scream kind of thing. Because I have a story, right? And this is like dead ass, one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me. I have had sleep paralysis twice in my life. The first time was the worst. I think I must have been about 16 or 17, and I was sleeping in my sister's bed because she was gaming, and I'd been watching her game, and I just kind of rested my head down, and I'd fallen asleep. And I remember waking up, and I could see my sister gaming at her computer, but I couldn't move. But my face was in the pillow. I had rolled onto my front, and I tried moving, and I couldn't. Like, trying to move my arms. And I realized that my face was so much in the pillow that I couldn't breathe. And I started feeling the oxygen leave my body. I started suffocating in the pillow. And at the same time, I was willing my body to move. I was trying desperately to make my body move. And I started hearing, I heard a voice. I heard something saying something to the extent of, you will move. But my sister had her headphones on. And I could swear this voice was as clear as day in my ear. And then, you know when you wake up from a nightmare and you have that like gasp of breath? Like you've just come up from being underwater for a bit too long? I had that like heart palpitation that woke me up. And that legitimate. I asked my sister, were you saying anything? Like you didn't wake me up, bro. I was dying behind you. I was literally dying behind you. And you're like, no, my World of Warcraft is more important. Dude, I could have died and you wouldn't have even noticed. And that was like the one time. I did have sleep paralysis once relatively recently. And thankfully this time I was lying on my back. However, this time I woke up. I couldn't move. And I was lying in a way that I could see my entire room. And the thing is, at this point, I knew what sleep paralysis was. And my mind started racing, saying, oh no, sleep paralysis. Wait, people who get sleep paralysis demons. Oh my god, I hope I don't get a sleep paralysis demon. I hope I don't get a sleep paralysis demon. I hope. And because I knew what a sleep paralysis demon was, I started panicking, hoping I didn't get a sleep paralysis demon. So guess what ended up happening? Ah, there was some shadow in the corner. Because when you're sleep paralyzed, right, it's like only a certain part of your brain is woken up. And your mind is running wild. Your heart is rushing. You're getting this like surge of a dopamine and adrenaline. And your brain will start like doing everything in its power to try and wake you up. But in so doing, you're causing disturbances in your vision and everything. And yeah, because I started panicking so much, like panic will do a lot of things for you as like a survival instinct. The panic made me believe that the coat that was hanging on my door was a demon. And then I woke up and I started crying. And then the person in bed with me at the time was like, Makari, why are you waking me up? I was like, I saw a demon. Makari, you are 29 goddamn years old. Grow the fuck up. I was like, but it was a demon. And then the next day I looked back and I was like, yeah, no, that was just the coat and I was being a baby.
And no response. After this, the words, "He has been a bad boy" appear, with "Let us teach him to be a good boy again" appearing right after. As Vane begins to sob, the word "time" appears, with a number of the timestamp beside it. A time-lapse begins as we see Vane go through many attempts to escape as well as continuing to scream for help. 19 hours later, he stands there completely silent. After another 78 hours, Vane is so weak that he basically can't do anything. Eventually, the footage finally slows down and the time text is replaced with, "He is now a good boy."
I think I need to make this a redeem for my stream. So you lot know when you've been good. And when you've not been good, I'll bring up Rick Ashley's Never Gonna Give You Up on repeat for 5 hours.
Footsteps begin to approach him after the light is turned off. Vane screams, though the noise comes out in a rasp. I think the
Guys, have
scariest
you
thing
been
to
good?
me here is the fact that Vane was being held by some
Have you been
invisible
good?
force to stand.
Have you been
and
behaved?
likely, if he'd kept fighting, would have been forced to stand in that corner until he passed away. I don't know, that just particularly stands out to me. When playing the DVD again, this time
Yeah,
it shows Vane,
this
who is much
one's-
thinner than before,
this one's just
sitting at a table
disturbing.
with 27 plates of food and several pitchers of water on it.
Ooh.
Relieved to finally be able to eat and drink, he begins to partake of the meal. On the screen, the
No,
words, "The
dude,
healthy
don't
way."
do that. That's Lion Witch in the... That's like, oh god, what was it? Not the Golden Compass. Narnia. Narnia. You know, in Narnia, where there's the like, what chapter? It's like book 6, I think. There's like the table of kings, and if you eat something from the table, you fall into an eternal slumber. Yeah.
Then, feeding him
Don't
healthy
eat
food
the forbidden
appear.
fruit.
He continues to eat, avoiding the dishes containing vegetables. Doesn't seem like the best idea. After all, you're always supposed to get your kid to eat their veggies, right? As his condition improves, the words, "Remember to reward the behavior of good boys" appear on the
God.
screen. Vane finishes
Can we
his
not?
food.
My
and we see
community are
Vane
already
speaking only to
degenerate
get
enough.
no
They don't need to be
response
having
as
some
usual.
kind of like
He
audio
expresses
stim like
relief as
that.
it seems that Papa isn't there. Eventually, he gets up slowly and hesitantly and begins to walk out of camera shot. After footsteps approach the camera, it's turned off, and on the black screen appears the words, "And remember to punish the behavior of bad boys."
Oh yeah, I got my footage. Oh yeah, guys, you want me to pull up the bad boy screen? You want me to pull up the bad boy screen? I'll pull up the bad boy screen. Oh, you haven't tier 3 subbed to me today? Oh, you've been a bunch of little misbehaving tykes? Yeah, you get the bad boy screen. I'll go AFK. I'll go AFK and leave this up, so you know you've been bad.
When the camera comes back on, we can see Vane again sitting at the table
God, you're
with
also
several pieces of lettuce
dog-pilled.
stuffed in his mouth. He attempts to resist them
Why
until
is
he
my
commits to chew
community so
before the spotlight
dog-pilled?
turns off.
No, I'm being dead. Look at this. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. They're all like, oh, am I a good boy? Am I a good boy? Dog. Yeah, you're all dog-pilled. You are all so dog-pilled. How have I nurtured this kind of a community? It's actually so
we see him
unhinged.
eating the lettuce himself. As he does this, the words, "He is now my good boy" appear on the screen before it switches to the words, "Aren't you?"
Okay, might be activating certain parts of my brain at this point. Because I do like to be called a good girl.
Vane responds, "Yes, Papa." As the 6th recording starts, the text, "The homie way," followed by teaching the
I'm sorry,
As the
what?
6th recording starts, the text, "The homie."
The homie way? No way, dude. Are you kidding me? Yo, we all homies out here. Yo, yeah, let's get out there, homies. Yo, like this video if you homosexual. Remember, kiss your homies goodnight. We all a bit homosexual out here.
Way, followed by teaching
Yeah,
them
my
how to do
homies.
chores appear on a dark screen.
Homie.
Vane is then shown quivering as he stands in a hunched posture in front of the camera. At this point, he's noticeably starting to revert into a childlike state, probably in order to protect himself. The words, "Teaching your children responsibility makes them independent."
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. So, I didn't realize it, but this actually was put into a game. I'm not sure if you guys have played it, but Yakuza actually has this SCP in their game.
Bother you boys. Yo, let's go.
Yes, goodbye.
Not so fast, Chief!
Baby gang! Baby gang! Baby gang, baby gang, baby gang, baby gang!
Stepping into my big comfy crib. Think you can waltz in here and spoil our
Deadass!
fun?
Deadass,
Come on,
that's what it
boys.
is.
Let's pacify this bitch.
Oh my god, Yakuza, we have to play that.
Followed by, "Also a great way to teach them to pay you back," appear on screen. Vane fearfully asks what he's supposed to be doing before a broom is dropped in front of
Yeah,
him
the
and he's commanded
homies!
to sweep. As Vane sweeps, the camera angle switches to one that only shows the floor angle of him sweeping. He soon begins to slowly retrieve something from his pocket as he's eventually seen only sweeping with one hand. The words, "Children are meant to be seen, not heard," followed by,
Hey,
"Sit back and
I'm
watch
not
them
gonna
work as
pay
you
heed to
relax,"
that.
appear
You
on
tell me
screen.
to do something, I'm gonna do the
Eventually, as Vane's
opposite.
sweeping form
I'm not a
breaks
brat,
down
I
more
just
and
don't like
more,
to be governed.
He finally takes his
I'm gonna
chance.
become
He knocks the
ungovernable and
camera down with the broom before
unrulable.
wrapping duct tape around something. As Papa begins to exclaim no repeatedly, Vane triumphantly announces, "The light won't be turning off now, Papa. It won't be turning off now. You can't get me anymore." He finishes wrapping the spotlight in tape as he tells Papa that he'll never be taken down again. As repetitions of the word no fill up the screen, the tape is eventually heard ripping and Vane attempts to run away before the word punishment fills up the screen. The spotlight turns off and the sound
So, what if you just, like, abused the only potential way of getting out? What if the only way of leaving this area was by placating the very specifically kinked up machine? You know, it might have had the fun time planned, but you needed to do that to leave, and now you just butchered your only way of getting out.
sounds of a body being slammed onto the ground are heard, as well as the further damage that ensues. The punishment lasts 40 minutes. I cannot imagine any human being would survive that or be able to slam someone on the ground like that for 40 minutes. On the 8th recording, we see the title is changed to Papa's Ways to Punish Your Child. The best way, followed by self-reflection, appear on screen. The tape is heard being wrapped
The best way? No Fortnite.
around something before we hear Vane apologizing and pleading with Papa. Well, somehow, he's alive. Papa just has to be keeping him alive with some anomalous properties at this point. I've coddled you enough, boy.
Oh,
and
God.
It's time to teach you a lesson in listening to your papa appear on screen. Vane continues to plead more before he's slapped, and liquid is heard splattering on the ground. I loved you. I fed you. I raised you. And now you rebel against me? You will learn your place, boy. Like your
Families in Alabama be like.
siblings have. Vane pleads even more at this point. Let's see your true face. Appears on screen before the spotlight is turned on and the camera
Actually
is
got some
turned away,
Joker level
allowing
energy
the
out of
viewer to
that.
see remains
You wanna know
sticking
how I
to
got
the
these
wall.
scars?
Vane then
You
finally
wanna know how I
gets
got
to see
these
himself in the mirror
scars?
and screams. Probably because, I'd guess, your face wouldn't look very good after what happened prior. Or maybe, Vane really does believe he's a child at this point, and seeing the distorted face of a grown man threw him off. Recording 9. The modern way, followed by the Ferber method, appear on screen.
Ferber?
Vane is in a nearly unlit room, laying on a bed.
Alright,
with
who's
an
Ferber and why have I
inefficiently
gotta
small
report him to the
blanket.
police?
Because of this, he's seen shivering as he lays there. As he cries, he strangely sounds like an infant at this point. Even if your baby is crying in the other room, appears on screen. Vane begins to move his visibly contorted arms like an infant.
Dude, this is so uncomfortable. Like, having a grown-ass man being, like, forced into being someone's, like, man baby. Oh, God. Yeah, and the scary thing is, this isn't like, take away the anomalous property of the SCP for a second. There are some horrible people out there that have legitimately done this, like kidnapped someone and forced them to be like, ew, disgusting.
As he continues to lay there crying, know that they're trying to get your attention. Appears. Vane then attempts to sit up, but he physically just can't anymore. They have nothing else to do but that, is shown. Vane continues to cry loudly, so never answer their cries, appears on the screen. Eventually, Vane ceases crying and begins to suck his thumb, which is noticeably missing a fingernail.
Ew.
And if worse comes to worse and they still don't sleep, the small bit of lighting that existed outside of the window has been shut out. Vane begins to cry again. Force them to cry it all out, appears on the screen. For the remaining 47 minutes, Vane cries, and other faint crying is heard in other rooms of the facility as well. Papa loves all
God.
of you, my babies, appears at the end in small print at the bottom of the screen. I'm sure that detailed run.
Isn't everybody so glad that SCPs are just a fictitious thing that don't exist? Isn't it so great that no matter how hard we try, it definitely won't come into belief and reality? Isn't it so good we live in a world where the power of belief doesn't manifest these things? Isn't it so good? I'm so glad that the power of belief doesn't manifest things. Aha, at least that's what they want you to believe.
Unknown probably traumatized you enough, but unfortunately for you, it gets even worse.
What?
4 months after the discovery of this horrific DVD, a website called Papa's Parenting Journey was discovered. This website, created January 1st, 2000,
Regular
displayed only
corn
an
for
error
regular
message when
people
accessed,
much?
but the IP address was still able to be traced to a location in rural Wyoming, which
Of
has
course
to be like
it's
almost
Wyoming.
all of Wyoming, but anyway.
Of course it's Wyoming, because this is the least unhinged person in Wyoming.
A crew would be sent to the exact location to investigate. The captain of this crew would record everything. Cautiously, they enter the house as 2 men guard the outside. The inside is absolutely unkempt and disgusting. They search around the house looking for any hidden areas. On the sofa, strange handprints are discovered that seem to be missing fingers. Under the sofa, they find a small metal trap door. They proceed down the dark staircase, and once they reach the bottom, they see tables with 3 boxes sitting on each of them, DVDs all over the ground, a well-like structure with a wooden lid, and 20 television sets stacked
Don't
up
you
that
open
are all
it.
still turned on. A faint rumbling sound is also heard. All of the DVDs are SCP-6618. As they continue to investigate, they notice that each TV set shows different people in varying negative situations. One is a woman in her 30s chained to a wall, another an East Asian woman being forced to kneel on a plate of mungo seeds, and finally, someone crushed against the wall. All of them were mouthing Papa indefinitely. The rumbling noise becomes louder, and they approach the well-like structure where it's coming from. On the wooden lid, the
Dude,
words,
why they gotta put this like kitty, like the little jingle in the back? That's just making it even more unsettling. Ha!
"Have to leave. Papa loves you so much," have been written hastily in red. Finally, they open the lid, revealing hundreds upon hundreds of cadavers, some clearly recent and some clearly not. They all churn like a vat of liquid, and disciplinary items like belts, chains, and mungo seeds are seen. All of the corpses are wailing like a crying baby. One body is seen climbing along the side of the well, and despite the horrific
Wait, what? Excuse, oh god, ew, no, ew.
image, the one single person holding
Whose
himself
idea was it
above
to watch
all
this
the
video
deceased
again?
is James Vane, who can only scream Papa. In a way, he was still fighting after all of this time.
Oh my
DIY
god, I am now immensely upset at myself for having watched that, and I haven't grown at all from it. In fact, I now need to go and spend 5 minutes sorting myself out. So if you guys have been disturbed as much as I have, make sure to like and join my Twitch, and I'll, oh boy.